talk that we are here for, Looming Judicial Crisis.
First, the customary apology, ladies and gentlemen. Secondly, I'm sure all of you sometime in your life have watched a Hindi film where they say, "Yahan der hai, andher nahi." So I could not have been here on time if I was a professional lawyer and worth the listen. But jokes apart, I'm very profoundly sorry. I was on my legs till 4:30, and then as somebody just put it on, somebody sitting here said the President of India is making the former President of Ben Frank come in late. So the whole city is in a mess on the roads, and that partly explains my delay. Now getting straight, how long do I talk?
What's the time?
How long do I blabber? Huh?
But we need time. Sure.
Fine. Okay, about 40-45 minutes, and then I'd rather have more questions than. So I'll cut it down to less than 45 minutes. So when we're talking, I'll get straight to the subject. I'm not going to gloss over why we are here, what's all this about. I think we all need to understand one thing very clearly, that the Indian judicial system is a product of the larger Indian system. If we believe that we can have corrupt bureaucrats, corrupt academicians, corrupt politicians, corrupt saints and priests, but honorable judges, then the honorable there has the same meaning that Shakespeare used when Mark Antony was referring to Julius Caesar, to Brutus. So, उसी मिट्टी के बने हुए हैं. I think we need to understand, therefore, that today the crisis that we are talking about in the Indian judiciary is a crisis that looms large not only in the context of the Indian judicial system but the Indian social milieu itself. And if it's becoming more and more visible with the Indian judicial system today, I think because there's one revolt without a cause, or you have one or two people making the noises here and there, nothing more than that. We need to press the panic. Okay, these hints don't help. Okay.
Indian social media.
Yeah. Now, when I'm talking about the looming legal crisis, I'm not only talking about the structural crisis within the judiciary. There is a moral crisis in the judiciary, there is a delivery crisis with the judiciary, there is a crisis of understanding the constitution by the judiciary, there is a crisis of independence of the judiciary, there is a crisis of delivery system by the judiciary. Today morning, I was witness to a young man standing before the Chief Justice and saying, 40 men have died, can you take up this case? The judge said, are you going to decide my decision what cases I should be hearing today? Now, am I blaming the judge for this? No, I'm not. Am I empathizing with the citizen? Yes, I am. Where am I standing between the two stools? When you stand between two stools, you fall. The problem is, understand that any system that throws so much of dependence on what's the tell me what's the hint? No, I'll take it. Oh. See, at least for half an hour to 45 minutes, nobody other than me makes all the noise. Right. Any system that is so uniquely and intrinsically dependent on a set of individuals. By default means that if this set of individuals are good, the system functions well. If this set of people are suspect, then the system crumbles. Understand, and I think we need to get a historic perspective of this. If Nehru was not the liberal Nehruvian he was, the Indian constitution gave Nehru a superb chance of converting this polity into a dictatorial government. Historically, we owe it to that man singularly and individually for the kind of liberal society we live in today. Now, what the other aspects of Nehru are, I'm not entering into that debate. I'm only saying today the reminiscence of a liberal democracy can stay exclusively at the doorstep of Teen Murti Bhavan. Similarly, for a very long period in time, we had legal giants who understood that there was a subtle balance of power between the judiciary, the executive and the legislature. And understand, much before the Modi factor happened, the independence of the Indian judiciary was threatened openly, threatened seriously by a lady from the Congress, by none other than somebody who was an inheritor of the Nehru legacy, unfortunately did not inherit the legacy of the father except the name. The emergency saw the dirtiest days of the Indian judiciary, and when people say this, they mean it. When the Indian judges were asked to bend, they crawled. No greater truth than the fact that Justice Ray said, your right to life was after all a fundamental right, and if the constitution was under suspension, even your right to life was under suspension. Years later, when the Attorney General of India was asked how he could have come up with such a ridiculous argument, he said, forget how I came up with this ridiculous argument, don't forget, my ridiculous argument was accepted by a bunch of judges of the Supreme Court of India. So it is not new today when we talk about executive inroads being made into the area of sanctity or the sanctum sanatorium of our constitution. No, it is not. Also understand that the problem of non-delivery is not unique to the Indian judicial system. Go to Usmania General Hospital, you have the same problem. Go to Imliban bus stand, you have the same problem. You go to Secunderabad railway station, you have the same problem. Come to my High Court, you will have the same problem. Understand the challenge is one also of numbers, and while at other places there is a high degree of transparency, over here my lords have taken that expression by word. They really believe that they are lords. They really believe that since you are calling them lords, they are so, they are not answerable. And the Indian polity has survived in this belief that judges are not accountable. As a consequence of which, today one important question that the Indian polity must be asking and trying to find an answer is who will judge our judges? The reason why I am saying this is, many judgments in this country are correct because they are final, and they are not final because they are correct. A magistrate passes an order against which, because it is suspect, you go to a sessions court. Again, because it is suspect, you go to the High Court. And again, because it is suspect, you go to the Supreme Court. Then you stop. Not because it is not suspect, but because you are tired. You have to stop somewhere. There must be a finality, and therefore, verdicts of the Supreme Court are right because they are final. They are not final because they are right. In a system governed by rule of law, or in any civilized society, it is safe, if not correct, to have some kind of finality to adjudicatory processes, and that is why we stop with judgments at the Supreme Court. I have no manner of doubt in my mind that if our judgments went from the apex court as it is today to say the Privy Council or to an international court of some other kind, many of these judgments would be set aside with the same amount of contempt with which they set aside judgments of courts below. Now, there can be two reasons for this. The first of it being that sociologically, every issue that deals with social dynamics can have two opinions. On every matter, we could have a disagreement, and therefore, there is no end to debate. Unfortunately, in Britain, you have the finality of the government. The government says what I say is final. If they say all blue-eyed people are kings of this country, so be it, that will be the law of the land. Now, the other modules that we have, the United States of America, India, we have what is called the distribution of power, which in the case of India has become the distribution of irresponsibility. The executive blames the legislature blames the judiciary blames the legislature, and therefore we are playing a ball game with scapegoats. Is this anything new? No. Then why are we talking about it today as a looming crisis? I have a sense of history that tells me that perhaps we have reached that point where we are just dealing with the last straw on the camel's back. Today, there is a strong political divide in the country. This whole theory that we are a very tolerant, very Catholic society is suspect. Intellectuals have become intolerant. Forget the common man. Intellectuals today are saying we will burn books. Intellectuals today are saying if I don't agree with this philosophy of so and so, I'm going to have his head broken, I'm going to have her nose cut, I'm going to have somebody else's something else cut off. We are playing anatomical butchers of one kind or the other. So, there is a serious social crisis, and we have a judicial system which is incapable sociologically. And I am saying this with a great sense of responsibility. I am saying sociologically the Indian judicial system is incapable of matching up with the social dynamics that are being thrown out on the street. The one aspect about which judges seem to be very touchy and proud is that they are very honest. Suspectedly. Now, I am not saying they are corrupt. I am saying I am not willing to say they are clean. I am saying they are as clean as, or as whatever as, anybody else in this country, because we all come from the same factory. We have embalmed Satyameva Jayate. It's become an emblem. It's no longer a process to live by. Therefore, today when we say that decisions are lacking in bona fides, what are we saying? We are talking about dishonesty. And when I talk about dishonesty, I am not talking about monetary dishonesty at all. There are greater forms of social dishonesty in our system that we need to come to terms with. The affluent, elitist approach of courts towards problems of the poor man is a constitutional dishonesty according to me. There was a time when Justice Desai, sitting in his car, was reading the Indian Express. He found in the Indian Express that morning, a small report which said that a widow did not get her pension for 20 years after her husband died in the railways. He took a pen, he just scribbled on it, told the registrar of the Supreme Court, get this on to me on the registry as a writ petition, I will deal with it. Within a month, the lady got her pension. Will this happen in India today? The answer is no. That is intellectual dishonesty that this country has today. That is the context in which I am saying, at the number of people who are poor today, in contrast distinction to the number of people who were poor 20 years ago, and you know why I am saying the crisis is looming large. Merely in terms of aggregate numbers, it's looming large. 1, 2. 30 years ago, while every time, historically, it's known through the corridors of power in this country that the number 1 and the number 2 never got along. Today, the battle is come to the streets. Number 1 is calling number 2 names. Number 2 is writing letters about number 1 and saying, I won't give it to the media, please come and collect it. This is where the battle is reached. Now what happens is, when ordinary men occupy extraordinary positions of power, there is a mismatch of physics over there, as a consequence of which the constitutional gravity on the basis of which the system is supposed to survive is getting threatened. As a consequence of which today we have judges constantly bickering against one another on the manner in which judges should be appointed to the court, not realizing that any strict method that they are seemingly advocating, if applied to them, they would not have been judges of the courts. Look at every judge in the Supreme Court today. Justice Chalameshwar, in that famous, in a very famous lecture that he gave recently, he pleaded for the necessity to insulate judges away from politicians. There is no judge in this country who has not had some kind of political uplift before he became a judge either of the High Court or of the Supreme Court. There is no doubt about this. He so chuega ke billi haj ko jaye. This is the problem with us. The moment I go and sit there, I take my vertical very seriously. I am sitting above everybody else, therefore I am superior to all of you. I sit in this vertical every day, therefore I psychologically begin to believe in my Goebbels theory that I am superior to you, intellectually, honestly, emotionally, and therefore this myth that judges in this country are not accountable has grown beyond repair, and that is adding no mean contribution to the crisis of the Indian judiciary. Yet another factor that I think is leading to a huge problem is the delivery system. When I talk about the delivery system, it is obvious, we all know that it takes hundreds of years nearly. It is often said that a man's problems in India begins after he gets a degree in a court of law, how he gets it executed. A normal civil suit for recovery of about 50,000 rupees, you will get your 50,000 rupees on the day when the value of the 50,000 rupees is 5 paisa. It will take you roughly, a money suit in India takes you roughly 15 years if it does not go to the Supreme Court. If it goes to the Supreme Court, God bless. This is the state of affairs. Now, also let me tell you, we have 8 courts, 8 high courts in the country where we don't have a Chief Justice. Talking about Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, my daughter has completed a 2-year postgraduate degree in America after the last Chief Justice retired from Hyderabad. When we last had a Chief Justice, Kalyan Jyoti Sen Gupta, this was 3.5 years ago. After he retired, we had Dilip Bhosle as an acting Chief Justice for 1.5 years. Then he was transferred as Chief Justice of the Allahabad High Court. Then we have Ramesh Ranganathan now as acting Chief Justice for 1.5 years. of who will come in as a Chief Justice of our High Court. Now please understand, who decides this? A collegium of the first 3 judges of the Supreme Court will decide this. 3 men can't decide the appointment of 9 people for 9 high courts as the Chief Justice. Is it so impossible? You're worse than a 10 batsman if this is what you can't do with numbers. Today even India's number 10 batsman scores better than that. And why are we not doing this? We have no clue. Because one judge says there must be transparency in the collegium. You must write down in the minutes what has happened. What did you do when you were Chief Justice of the Kerala High Court? No answers are forthcoming to this question. How is it when you were in the collegium at other places you did not ask this question? No answers are forthcoming. Is this a real awakening? Please let us know. We'll have all these judges go and sit under the same Bodhi tree for 10 minutes so that the awakening will happen to all of them and then they will all talk about transparency. It does not happen. But the fact of the matter is this. Sometimes bad rebels make bad causes. And that is probably one of the problems that's happening with the Indian judicial system today. When judges start having scrambles among themselves about the processes by which their kith and their kin should become judges of courts, it is so obvious that the devils are quoting from the scriptures. The credibility, therefore, of such an argument loses fervor, loses credibility, and everybody yawns about it and says, come on, one more story that the judiciary is playing out. And one of those acts that we are doing, if not the first judge, then Portia will come and then we'll talk about Daniel come to judgment. Let us understand, today there is not so much a misunderstanding on what the Constitution says, as much as there is a misunderstanding of who should be talking about the Constitution in this country. While the judges have an upper role in deciding to interpret the Constitution, what are these men made of? Is a question that is often debated in public in USA, is never debated in UK, and therefore the king or the monarchy that appoints a judge knows what responsibility they are taking upon themselves. They are answerable and therefore they are careful. In India, it is neither. We have 3 judges' cases historically. Initially, the argument was that the President of India is the appointee and therefore he will appoint whom he wants. The Supreme Court dealt with it in Judges Case 1, and then in Judges Case 2, they finally said the whip will lie with the Chief Justice of India. So far, so good. The executive said, okay, you want to appoint your men as your judges, you are going to run the institution, so be it. After all, the law is what you lay as the law of the land, so they said that is all right. From the 70s till the 2000s, they saw the kind of judges who came. Half a dozen Chief Justices between the 80s and the 2000s, on the day of their retirement, said that they worked with corrupt judges in the Supreme Court. That is not what I am saying. Half a dozen Supreme Court Chief Justices said on the date of their retirement that they have been working with judges of questionable integrity. Now what does this mean? This means, if my grammar is bad, my English teacher was not very good in grammar. So if you worked with men of questionable integrity, these people of questionable integrity were selected by people of great integrity. If this is not a paradox, I am Christopher Columbus. need therefore to understand that when we are therefore talking about this, you will excuse me my cup of tea because I'm rushing straight from court and traffic jams. Only for Vinayak Chaturthi, Vimarjan days, they give you nice things on the way when you're on the procession, not when the President of India is coming for a Telugu or literary fest. So excuse me my bad manners. Now, of the total 700 odd, we have a, why go by numbers? We have a 46% vacancy of High Court judges across the country. 46%. Which is roughly half the number of judges are not available in this country. And I also understand that on an average, an Indian High Court judge does at least, minimum, without exaggeration, 10 times the work that his counterpart in most other countries do. For example, in Court Hall number 10, Justice M.S. Ravichander Rao's court, today he disposed of 120 petitions. Look at the workload this man has. He's hearing 120 stories of people who have grievances. He has to hear what the grievance is. He has to, at least for a minute, think, "Arey, kya ho raha hai?" And then apply the law that he has learned a few years ago. Apply it to this and then deliver an order which will take him 2-3 minutes to write. This is the kind of work one man turns out. And 50% of such people are absent. Why are they absent? Why is it that we are not filling up posts? For the first time, the Narendra Modi government came up with an enactment to have a National Judicial Appointment Committee. One of the few things of that government that I would vote for. For two reasons, and I'll be very frank on both these reasons. One is, enough of blaming the judiciary for everything, let the executive take over so that if we get corrupt judges, we know where to point our fingers to. The second is, while all of us have this tendency to blame politicians in this country for everything that happens, a judge friend of mine once told me, "Ravi, don't forget, for all the good and evil that happens in this country, the politician is the only person who quinquennially goes back to the people and says, please give me a pass mark and give me a progress report." Nobody. Academicians don't go to the public and say, pass me. The bureaucracy doesn't go. The judges don't go anywhere. Who goes? Only the politician goes. So at least he is answerable once in 5 years to deliver something or the other. Now, in spite of it, we elect governments as late as yesterday. How we elect them, that's another story. We won't go there. How we elect our governments, what kind of thinking goes into our minds is another story. It's a part of democracy. It's a part of bad democracies also. Democracy is not a perfect theory. You have bad people, you have bad citizens, where character, where honesty is not a priority, where owning a tube light, having a car, or having a refrigerator or a prestige cooker in your house or a television is in your house, then Jayalalitha will be the chief minister. Let's not crib about this. Let's not blame the politician for buying votes. We are the ones who are selling them. It's easy to say, oh, these politicians, they come and buy votes. But understand, if they buy votes, who's selling them? You and I are selling those votes. It's very easy to say, oh yes, Ravi, nice for you, you will come in a nice big car and say all this. What about the poor man who sees this as a rare chance to get his money? A rare chance. The mic is not there. I don't blame you. The moral of the story is my batteries are better than that of the LaMakaan mics. As long as this blame game moves, we were all comfortable in this illusion that आखिरी इंसाफ तो मिल जाएगा, we'll go to court. That is now suspect. Because the judges are fighting among themselves as to who's clean, who's not clean, who's good, who's not good, who should be where. Very interesting story to the genesis, and it's out in the public, and I'm only repeating a story that is probably not known to a few of the uninitiated. Here, Justice Chalameshwar, the rebel without the cause, has been now talking about transparency. When did this begin? When the newspaper went to town talking about the refusal of the collegium to deal with a single transfer of a certain person. Now it was very, 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 very unfortunate that a judge from the High Court at Hyderabad was transferred to Kerala. He was arguably one of our best judges. But he was transferred to Kerala. Politics had played its role. Now, it was very convenient for the collegium to say that Chalameshwar was raising this issue because he knew the person who was transferred from here to Kerala. Now, what happens in this is, when you start taking a cause, people in our country immediately connect you with the beneficiary of the cause rather than the cause itself. And many of us lack the ingenuity to ensure that this bullet is fired through the proper shoulder. Consequently, today, we have a crisis looming large of three major factors. One, the executive and the judiciary are involved with one another as to who should appoint the judges, as a consequence of which we are now in a let's see who blinks first. 46% or 45% of vacancies in the high courts are lying vacant. As a consequence of which, tomorrow if I file a writ petition in the court saying that in a Purani Basti somewhere down this place there is no drinking water, there will not be a judge to hear the matter because he is busy hearing postgraduate medical seats case, or he is hearing a case relating to whether building of those tires of a screw is a service or a product, and therefore whether service tax is to be paid on that or not, or whether when I put rubber bands on rupee notes on bundles, is it a service and therefore is it subject to service tax? Now these are important issues that we discuss, as a consequence of which we are not having the time to talk about whether the common man should get drinking water or not. I'm telling you, Jasmine will vouchsafe for this. 3 years ago, one sweltering hot summer morning, Lubna walks into my office saying, Usmania University के पास पानी नहीं है, 3 गलियों में लोगों को पीने का पानी नहीं. Do you understand what I'm talking about? We are living in the 21st century. We are talking about a place which was the epicenter of fighting for a new state. And there you have a colony of people who don't have drinking water. And I had to move a court, plead with the judge and say, forget the legal aspect here, first get them some drinking water. And I was lucky that day that I had a judge who said, okay, pehla pani pilao, baad mein dekhiye. This was not because of my brilliance as a lawyer, I'm not. I lay no claims. If you want a fine example of a very, very mediocre lawyer, here's one standing before you. What happened that evening was serendipity. It was Ya Allah ki dein, excuse me that expression after yesterday's results. Or it was just that there was enough water and people asking, and it just happened that way, nothing else. Ittafaq. How long does a system run like this? Sooner than later it's going to come crashing down. So long, what happened? The house divided at least put up a facade of being united. They said, we are all together, we are all very honorable, we are all very nice guys, we are all gentlemen, we speak in English, and we wear those big nice robes, we sit at an above level, we are like kings, and you call us lordship, honor and all that. We know the law, you don't know anything, we decide your fate, therefore we are good people. No, this myth needed just a needle to prick it, and that's what has happened when the NJAC came. Let us realize, India arguably is the only country in the world where the judges select their own brethren. Nowhere else does this happen. All the professors tomorrow will sit down together and say, we will decide who will be our next professors. And interestingly, we had a case in Hyderabad where the students protested, saying, we don't want this man to be the head of the department of our medical college because he will get a tough external examiner. We want so and so. And therefore, this man was removed, that man was brought in as the head of the department so that he could bring in somebody else as an external examiner to conduct examinations. And this was adjudicated by our judges who do the same. I am sure when Orwell spoke of Animal Farm and of double speak, I begin to suspect he was doing some kind of a crystal ball of the Indian judicial system circa 2017. The problem is much larger than what you and I think it is. Because if you look at the leaks that happened between the two warring judges of the Supreme Court, unfortunately both are from the state of Andhra Pradesh, the erstwhile state of Andhra Pradesh. So it's a moot question whether they belong to Telangana or to Andhra Pradesh. But both of them were appointed in the original state of Andhra Pradesh. Both went to the Supreme Court when still the state of Andhra Pradesh was there. And they are the two who are fighting tooth and nail and exposing the myth that they are all friends and they are all brothers as they call themselves to be. The problem is, one of them has made a serious allegation against the other that he is in an unholy, open, political liaison with one of the chief ministers in the country. Another chief minister writes a suicide note about the Chief Justice of this country, and we don't react to it. And when these Chief Justices come, the whole state respects them, we give them all kind of respect. The least we can do is cold shoulder them. We don't do that. Today, when Justice Chalameshwar pleads for transparency, it becomes a matter of debate. Why should transparency be a matter of debate? Even Helen did not agree with him. I'm not talking about Helen of Troy, I'm talking about Salman Khan's half-mother, the cabaret artist who would wear fairly non-transparent clothes when she did the cabaret numbers in the 60s and the 70s. Our courts are now debating, should we have records? Should we be transparent? I thought these were all beyond debate. These were givens, these were imperatives in a democracy. These were imperatives in a system governed by the rule of law. Today we debate it. Today we wear a holier than thou attitude, saying, no, I'm above, I'm the law. This is why I say we have phone goes with somebody. Can I have it for a minute, please? For a minute. I'm sure some of you have read this. Edwin Markham talks about this wonderful painting that he sees on the wall. It's a painting of a farmer bent in poverty. I'm going to read this poem out in conclusion. It's a little long, but please bear with me, it's shorter than my speech. After talking about the physical features of this man who's ploughing, is typically like the ones you've seen in Manoj Kumar movies, and then he asks, what gulfs between him and the seraphim, slave of the wheel of labor, what to him are Plato and the swing of Pleiades? What the long reaches of the peaks of song, the rift of dawn, the reddening of rose? Through this dreaded shape the suffering ages look. Time's tragedy is that aching stoop. Through this dread shape humanity betrayed, plundered, profaned, and disinherited. Cries protest to the judges of the world, a protest that is also a prophecy. O masters, lords and rulers in all lands, is this the handiwork you give to God? This monstrous, this distorted and soul quenched? How will you ever straighten up his shape? Touch it again with immortality? Give back the upward looking and the light, rebuild in it the music and the dream, make right the immemorial infamies, perfidious wrongs and impeccable woes. O masters, lords and rulers in all lands, how will the future reckon with this man? And here is a warning to the system, to the judges, to every aspect of power of contemporary India. How answer this brute question in that hour when whirlwinds of rebellion shake the world? How will it be with kingdoms and with kings and with those who shaped him to the thing he is, when this dumb terror shall reply to God after the silence of the centuries? Thank you. Questions, please. Oh, తప్పకుండా నన్ను నా భాషని మీరు కొట్టమైన lawyer is not lying when his lips are not moving. One, two. You know, and I'm sorry, I'm making this slightly crass joke, but I need to say it in the context because being crass is less important than being honest. You know what's common between the human sperm and the lawyer? 1 in a million has a chance of becoming a human being. Next. Who are these judges? These judges are mature lawyers. Successful lawyers who can do everything that needs to climb up the ladder. The reptilian lawyer becomes a good judge.
Sir, I'm a law student from Symbiosis Law School, Pune.
Sorry for breaking your dreams. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, I have a question. One is about the Justice Karnan's controversy,
Yes.
which I would like to know from your side.
Yes.
And secondly, the impeachment of judges, where it will be proposed and it will be taken back. Whether any other inquiry will happen into that later on.
The impeachment process is a 3-tiered process. First is 1/3 members of one of the two houses give a written representation to the speaker. The speaker takes a prima facie look around whether those allegations are worth considering, on the basis of which it goes for an inquiry. After the inquiry, the report is placed before the floor of the Parliament or the Assembly in the case of the High Court. And then there is a vote for impeachment. That is why it can never happen in this country. 1. 2. Karna. Now the problem with the man was, as I told you some time ago in another context, bad soldiers, good causes are a terrible dichotomy. You know what happens with a bad soldier is, even if he's fighting a good cause, people confuse the cause with the soldier. The problem with Karnan was, he started behaving like a high court judge, maverick. He said, I could do whatever I wanted. I can start issuing contempt notices against the Supreme Court judges. This doesn't happen, isn't it? See, a police constable tomorrow. Let's take a very small example. Tomorrow, the commissioner of police's car jumps a red light. Happens every day. So it's not a new example. The police constable can't catch the commissioner by his neck and put him in jail. This can't happen in a system governed by the rule of law. Is he a good constable? Wonderful constable. Is he right in ensuring the rule of law? Yes, he is. But was he right in catching the collar of the police commissioner and putting him in jail? The answer is no. And that's what Karnan did.
Sir, myself Rahul, I am from Padalong Reddy Law College. I'm a student. As you said, 46% of the judges' posts are vacant in the various high courts in the country. Is it completely a political appointment or there are no able people?
I would say that there are able people. I won't say they are disabled people. But the appointments are not happening because of politics. But wait, having said that, the politics is not of the politician alone. There is the politics of the politician, there is the politics of the judiciary. There is a belief in one place that there are two power centers among the judges of the Supreme Court today, and if you place one power center, you displease the other power center. Therefore, judges saying, why should I send names? I want to place both. I do.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Can I take this question first? I'll come back.
Holidays and they get, I heard that they get summer holidays for 3 months, which my cousins in school don't get.
Oh, does your cousin work on a Sunday? Does your cousin read 100 files on a Sunday? Does your cousin sit through till 2 o'clock in the night every day and read files?
But when 2 crore cases are pending, isn't...
Whose problem is 2 crores? Yours, mine? What's the judges? He didn't create those 2 crore people. He's a human being. And understand, if he sits and does all these 2 crore files every day, you will have horrendous judgments coming in addition to what is already coming. Yes. Hey, I am a great man for holidays. Take it from me. I sincerely believe that you must have holidays. Let's not be hypocritical about this at all. You need to have holidays. You need to enjoy life. You need your own space. You need your own time. Only then the creative juices in you will work. Try forcing your creative juices under the machine. You'll realize you'll create robots and not lovely human beings. Yeah.
So can you draw
Fun unintended in my example. Yeah.
can you draw some light on the fast track courts?
Oh yeah. Fast track courts are courts that go a little faster than slow track. It is like saying, you know, I don't know if in your generation you have heard of meter gauge trains. Now this is broad gauge train. In India what used to happen is, meter gauge train to jayega hi jayega, they say. Broad gauge train 4 घंटे के लिए जाएगा. So just imagine what these fast track courts do. No, but and you know, there's another problem with fast track courts. All retired judges come and sit there. So any post-retirement welfare center is something that I am very suspicious of.
I've got 2 questions, very small ones. One is Justice Thakur had last year said in front of Prime Minister Modi that we need at least 40,000 more judges.
Yes.
And Prime
Justice
Minister
Thakur.
Justice Thakur, the Chief Justice of India.
Yes, yes.
And the second question is about Justice Satish Devan. He became governor after being the Supreme Court Chief Justice. What's your take on that?
Okay, now, should a judge become a governor after being a chief justice? The answer is maybe no. Maybe no. Chabla contested for president. Hidayatullah contested for president. If you can be president, you can be governor. Now, question is also about proximities. Question is also about, in India we have this theory of justice should not only be done, but must appear to be done. And here was a clear case where justice was neither done nor appeared. So in that case, my theory is he should not have been a governor. Having said that, I would like to believe that there should be no golden rule that retired judges should not be governors and presidents. Because they bring in a lot of knowledge, they bring in a lot of experience. If they don't know the dirt of society, who does? They have a ringside view of all this, so there's nothing against. Now the other question you asked me about the number of judges that are wanted. First let them fill up this 45%, then we'll talk about that. Nowadays do you know that in the last 8 years, Osmania University has not recruited lecturers in Osmania University? Do you know this? What are we talking about? High court judges. Government schools. Government is now saying, and you know, today what we say, we are giving jobs. Baap ka maal hai. These are all cadre posts. Yeah, it's your basic duty to give them jobs. It's not like you're giving them cabinet posts. Today, we have 50 people with additional cabinet ranks in the state of Telangana and not a single lecturer appointed in the last 5 years in Telangana, in the Osmania University. Yes.
Namaste, please excuse my ignorance. And it
You
seems,
will, on one condition, you will excuse mine too. Go ahead.
it seems that there is a lot of confusion and mess in the system. So how do you prepare yourself to face this confusion and mess in the system without losing heart and mind?
I hope I have an answer. One is I must learn magic, which I don't know. Two, I think Edwin Markham had a hidden answer in that question. He said, how will it be with captains and with kings when this dumb, mute terror raises to us? Sooner than later they will ask. And then we will find the right answers. I like that yawn for my answer, but that's the truth.
Thank you.
Yes?
Appointment, hello. So we're really not a democracy to do functioning democracy. If you really look at the pragmatic side of what's happening, in view of that, what are we talking about balance of power? I mean, I think in this kind of a scenario, in the interest of whatever is left, the vestiges or whatever, shouldn't we really insulate the judiciary from political possible
My answer is no.
interference?
My answer is no. I'll tell you why. Two reasons. One is, however tyrannical, however fascist the present government may be, 2 years from today it goes to the public. It has to answer the public. The public may vote wrongly, rightly, that's a different matter. The Indian majority will vote for somebody and every people get the government they deserve. If we vote for X, that's what we deserve. Why blame them? To understand that in a pluralistic society, pluralism has an authenticity of its own, as a consequence of which he who has behind him the majority may be wrong, but yet he has the right to make the choices. On the other hand, if I have an autocratic Chief Justice who is not answerable to anybody, fascist judiciary, how do I get over it? And look at the kind of judgments we write. We say, Today you go and stay with that man whether you like it or not for another 1 week, then we'll come and decide whether this is possible or not. Yes. While at the end of it the husband and wife may go around singing romantic songs, at the end of it, to me it hurts my conscience that in an open court you can tell a lady whether you like it or not, go and live with that man for a week. This is unacceptable for me. And this is what the Supreme Court has done last week. Supreme Court passes orders left, right and center in any... I'll give you another example. 2 politicians from the state, erstwhile state of Andhra Pradesh. One of them, the charge against him is that he, as the heir apparent of his father, had made tons of money because his father was the chief minister. So a public interest writ petition is filed at the court saying, here's a corrupt man, take action against him. The court says, yes, here's a corrupt man, take action against him. He's arrested. CBI goes behind him. Those days it was called what? Congress Bureau of Investigation. So, then this man is arrested, he is in jail. Bail after bail after bail after bail is rejected. After Supreme Court, time after time after time after time has said, bail is the rule, jail is the exception. Gone? Next. Within 15 days after that, another writ petition is filed, saying, here is another man who was also the chief minister of the state of the same state. Here are charges against this man. This is the kind of money he has made. 15 years ago, his own admission says he was a small farmer with 50,000 rupees. Within 20 years, except holding the office of chief minister, he has held no other public office. How is it today he owns N crores of rupees? According to his declaration, conduct an inquiry. Court says we will not conduct it. If this is not judicial fascism, what is? Yes.
You have made a wonderful issue on this.
I heard the fool part of it. What is?
You have really picked up a wonderful point. Number one is that is otherwise known as dichotomy within the attitude of the institutional decadence of the
Correct.
judiciary.
Absolutely.
Second thing is, since 1970s down to 2017, the institution not only degenerated, it decayed, particularly the judiciary.
Yes. Yes, no, don't have to tell me. I agree with you. Anything that degenerates decays over a period of time.
Yes. You see, now there is some kind of an example like Keshwananda Bharati versus Union of India. Subsequently, there were n number of opportunities for the institution of judiciary, not only to make a wonderful judgment like this, protecting the very spirit of the constitution, but it missed a lot of opportunities. And how
I have my problems with Keshwananda Bharati.
maybe, but I tell you that is the benchmark. But even then, even the entire constitution, the constitutional bodies are being regulated, at least being guidelines.
Correct. But
At the same time, there are plenty of opportunities subsequently.
no doubts.
How come within the judiciary or outside the judiciary, even the civil bodies fail to notify the institution called judiciary on this? Why there is no accountability on this?
That's what I'm saying. 3 things. One is the judicial system has got away with this touch me not successfully.
Sacred cow.
Very sacred cow.
Right.
And nowadays even ordinary cows can't be touched. Where can you touch sacred cows? I think you got the answer. Yes.
Yes, wonderful talk, Mr. Ravichander. But you painted a very dismal and pessimistic view of the judiciary, which is very true. But
Is there anything at all that can give us some ray of hope?
yes,
Because see, we are talking about
more than 45% vacancies, one thing. And that boy he just spoke about judges taking long holidays and you bit his head off, which is
Yeah. No, let me elaborate. Okay. One thing is, firstly, you're understaffed.
David Copperfield, right? Where he bites.
The first thing is you're understaffed. The
Yes.
is understaffed.
Yes.
And then the people who are supposed to be doing also, they have long holidays, and then they.
You're not corrected. Go ahead.
Okay. Then we're talking about thousands or lakhs of people languishing in jail under
Correct.
trial.
Correct.
Under trial.
Correct.
For want of proper discipline.
Correct.
How do we address this?
Okay, now let me tell you two things. Under trials are not decided by high court judges. They are decided by lower court judges. They don't take holidays. They work throughout the year. One. So this misconception that under trials are in jail because because high court judges are taking a holiday is not there. The connect is wrong. One. Two. Understand this. Let us stop expecting heroes from the system. Let the system function according to its own proper mechanisms. If this system's mechanisms are wrong, let it crumble, a new system will come in its place. Let us not make messiahs out of judges. They are ordinary human beings, let them be human, let them behave like anybody else. Also understand, I said this to him, I'm saying it to you. The efficiency of a judge will fall short. Understand? Do you see all those big law books you see in a lawyer's office? He needs to read them. When does he read them? My sister is here, ask her. She will tell you that as a lawyer, though I take a holiday, I'm sitting at home reading books. Ask some of my friends over here, they'll see that when I'm at home, I'm sitting and reading a law book. I need to prepare. My preparation is not my flamboyance. It's not that I'm not the B.R. Chopra wala lawyer. I'm a lawyer who needs to read the law and go to the court. I can't drag a body and say, "Dekho, yahan ho gaya khoon." Therefore, like his cousin who has a summer holiday with very little homework, we have a summer holiday where invariably we come back with our homework incomplete. Yeah.
Sir, I'm a public policy and governance student post-grad.
Yes.
I'm a public policy and governance student.
Yeah.
So my questions regarding what you're talking about, the judicial performance evaluation and putting it in public domain. How rational will it be? Because there are scholars expressing reservations because it could compromise the independence of judiciary.
See, finally understand that the credibility of an institution depends on the men who man it. There's no. Okay. Read Richard Nash, Illusions. Richard Bach. You know what he says? Ask a question properly, it answers itself.
Everything is going to become online. That makes the system run.
Everything will become online will crash. You can blame it on the virus.
Hello, sir.
And you can blame it on ISI also. Yeah.
Sir, what's your take on judicial review and contempt of court?
I think truth must be made a defense. I think power of contempt of court must be there. But if there is valid literary criticism against judges, judgments, appointments, etc., they must be perfect.
So one more question from my side. I've seen judiciary up close because one of my uncle was a judge. And
Isn't that the kind of things you say with your knees down, with your knees up on a Sunday morning? Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so I've seen lower judiciary up close, and majority of times I've seen that judge is not available after the recess, he goes home. So there are so many such cases also happening. Of course, they don't take vacations, but they don't discuss the case.
I'll tell you what happens. I had this experience myself. I run from the High Court to a civil court, and I'm sitting in that hall, and the judge doesn't come. So I'm fuming. I'm saying, here's this judge sleeping in his chambers, having a nice afternoon siesta, and I'm waiting for him. What actually he's doing is, there's evidence that has been laid. Now let's look at this. He comes to the court at 10 in the morning. From 10 to 5, he's hearing cases. When does he write the judgment? When does he read that evidence to find out where are the minus points, where are the strengths of this judgment? He needs to spend time. When is he doing all this? That's what he's doing. Hopefully that's what he's doing. Now, in between, of course, he watches a couple of films and all that. That's all right. You know, just 1 minute, I'll just complete this. What I'm saying repeatedly is this. I don't expect superhuman beings of judges. Please at least be normal human beings. उसके बाद में देखा जाएगा. Yeah.
Advocates terrorist को ने
ఏం చేయాలి నేను?
మీరు మెడికల్ అడ్వకేట్ సార్, డిఫెంట్ అడ్వకేట్ కూర్చొని ఇలా గ్రూప్గా కూర్చొని పాస్ట్ యొక్క సెటిల్ చేయొచ్చు కదా.
ఆయన ఉంటే మంగళూరు మా ఇద్దరు వల్ల అయితే సిస్టమే అక్కర్లేదు కదా. Sorry for the crude proverb, but see, you must understand this. If two people together, I'll give you an example. You know, today, after all these courts examples that we have been talking about for a very, very long time, we started with alternate dispute resolution systems. So we said, let's have a Lok Adalat, where people will come, they'll all sit down, they'll compromise a matter. Today morning, I think you'll find it in the newspapers in a day or two, I argued a matter where my client is the mother, the widow, and a minor son. Their case is that a builder filed a civil suit against one lady. He said, you are the divorcee of a man who died. He had entered into an agreement of sale for 7 acres of land with me. He did not give me the property, he took the money and died. So what has he done? He's given this lady some money. She went as the defendant. Then both of them went before the Lok Adalat and said, yes, this man is very fair, I think I must compromise with him. She went and compromised with him. The mother, the son and the wife are there. Compromise, Lok Adalat over. So compromises sometimes lead to serious problems. They are like being caught in a compromising position.
Do you have more questions?
What can be done for the under trials? Yes. 3 things can be done for under trials. I think every under trial, today, I think the number of under trials has come down drastically. At least in Andhra Pradesh and in Telangana, there are very, very marginal number of under trials. In other states, there may be higher numbers. But let under trials write letters stating, now and I'm saying this, to the Legal Services Authority at High Court. Letters will come up before a committee. Member of the committee, we will see that the under trial cases are taken up.
Good evening, sir.
Hi.
Recently, we've seen the Supreme Court slap a fine of 25 lakhs on somebody who was trying to get some accountability. So this, I think, rather than taking the case to a logical end, so this shows that the institution, I'm saying institution because the people make the institution, is quite petrified of somebody getting to the bottom of things. So how do we make them normal people, like you said, from the intouchables that they're perceived to be? Intouchables.
See, I have no doubts that this kind of asking people to pay fines is wholly unacceptable. Wholly unacceptable. Forget 25 lakhs by Prashant. Prashant can afford it. Today in the High Court at Hyderabad, we have a rule which says that if you file a bill, you have to mention your name, your father's name, your grandfather's name, your bank account, from where your Aadhaar card, from where you will pay a fine if the case is against you. And you will deposit 50,000 rupees if called upon, which is worse than an ordinary civil court. In civil court, I don't have to pay 50,000 rupees. How is a bill worse than that? That's the state we brought things to, and as we all know, eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. Shout, come and raise slogans against the High Court and come and tell them this is not the kind of rules you make. Stop. So I know of a man who was asked to remove his turban because wearing the turban was illegal. He said, I will not remove it because I believe it is legal. They said, we'll send you to jail. He said, send me to jail. Then the judge got scared and said, okay, you apply for bail, I'll give you bail. He said, I won't apply for bail because according to me, I have broken the law, send me to jail. Nowadays, we only celebrate his birthday or keep his smiling picture in pink notes in our pockets instead of green notes. Let's learn to follow the man, we'll find answers.
Any more?
Yeah. Now my question
It's going to be a little different. Good evening. It was amazing listening you. And I'm curious for one thing. I may still try to understand how is working the Indian judiciary system. Because I read, for example, the Supreme Court take a decision, but in the real life, no one follows that decision, and the people finish on jail. For example, the Supreme Court recognized the right to dissent, but the people finish on jail without bail. The Supreme Court recognized the right to privacy, and students are rusticated from the university with not a real reason. How come?
I don't think rustication and right to privacy are connected with one another. I don't think after courts deliver judgments for people to be released from jail, they still are in jail. Now, don't understand me that I'm justifying rustication. That's a stupid thing. Only in India that can happen. Or in, what is that country? Russia, North Korea. अरे अपने बच्चे हैं, गलती तो करेंगे. Why don't we have that? You know, we talk about the Guru Sishya Parampara. No other country talks about it. And yet, when an erring student, we rusticate him. Weeks of authoritarianism. It is something that I can't come to terms with. But we have very disciplined judges who know law must find its way.
You have more questions?
Hey, Mirchi Bhaji guys are waiting for you to go and buy them. Hey, incidentally, let me tell you, all of you must go and buy your cups of tea and buy some mirchi or something because LaMakaan makes all its money from the sales. This whole meeting is up to your cost. So please ensure you contribute to it by that.
We have in the recent times seen cases of the Idea case, for instance, where the judges have viewed a 24-year-old woman as a girl, and you have got national anthem kind of judgments coming in. Are judges more inclined towards conservative rulings? These are conservative kind of approach. You know, is fascism seeping into, like a certain kind of ideology, and its rules making?
If you heard me carefully during my speech, I think the answer was screaming. But I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer. But let me tell you this: all systems reflect the collective sociology of its times. And today, if we are, whatever you said, the Indian tradition is, what was the word?
Conservative.
Conservative. I think that's where India is sweeping its way. And since our judges are Indians, they are part of the times.